This is a recording of the slide deck that will be shared at the community meeting on September 29th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at Linus Pauling Middle School's Commons.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for tuning in. We're excited to share an overview of the Osborn Aquatic Center with you, talk about some of the challenges it's facing, and hear your ideas on what comes next. Your input is important as we look at how to address our facility needs and the funding gap together as a community. I'm Meredith Petit, Parks and Recreation Director for the City of Corvallis, and with me is Kim Patten, Director of Operations for the Corvallis School District. The city and the school district have a long-standing partnership with this facility and are working together to explore solutions to serve the greater good for our community. This joint effort demonstrates our shared commitment to addressing the needs of the aquatic and recreation needs of our community, and your feedback will help shape the solutions we explore together. Starting with a facility overview, our Osborn Aquatic Center is a beloved community institution. It's made up of 4 different swimming pools. Indoors, we have a 50-meter Olympic-sized swimming pool made up of 8 lanes. We have 2 diving boards at 1 meter and 3 meters, and this pool is typically kept at about 82 degrees. The second indoor swimming pool is an indoor therapy or instructional pool where we house many of our low-level swim lessons, as well as our water therapy classes and therapy adaptive programs. This swimming pool is kept at a higher temperature, about 91 degrees, to make it more comfortable for the users of that swimming pool. Also indoors, we have 2 full-size classrooms. This is where we house many of our community classes, whether that be exercise classes, but typically our safety and training programs. So CPR classes, first aid classes, as well as making sure our lifeguards are getting trained and their in-service programs are held in those classrooms. Outdoors, we have an outdoor water park, affectionately called Otter Beach, which includes a leisure pool. And that includes a 3-story water slide, a river channel with a beach entry, interactive play features, and that facility is kept at about 84 degrees. And then our last pool is an outdoor lap pool, which is a 25-meter, 6-lane pool kept at about 82 degrees. Osborn Aquatic Center hosts thousands and thousands of participants each year. The facility is home to 5 competitive swim teams and clubs. In fiscal year 23-24, we saw over 11,000 registrations in our water safety swimming lesson program. We had about 11,000 participants in our water fitness and therapy classes, and over 100,000 total participations, including our drop-in recreation program, lap swim, and instructional classes. The Corvallis Parks and Recreation Department operates the Osborn Aquatic Center almost 365 days a year. The annual budget in fiscal year 23-24 for the facility operated at just over $2 million in expenses and bringing in almost $900,000 in revenue. The revenue for the facility is taken in through charges for services, which are registration fees payable to the city for classes such as fitness classes and learn to swim swimming lessons. Our rental program, so any rental facility revenue, event fees, as well as membership dues for lap swimming and other programs. The facility is also supported proportionally by the local option levy payable by the City of Corvallis property owners through their property tax assessments, and proportionally, Osborn Aquatic Center in fiscal year 23-24 received almost $400,000 allocated to the facility from that revenue. We operate on 5 full-time staff, including 1 recreation supervisor, 2 aquatics program coordinators who do the event planning, program planning. We have 1 aquatic support specialist, which is our administrative support role and our membership support role, and 1 aquatics facility specialist, which is our maintenance technician position. We wouldn't be able to provide the services and programs that we do without our part-time or casual staff. And at the peak of the season, we can have almost 200 part-time staff employees working for the aquatic center in a variety of positions, which includes our lifeguards, our head guards, swim instructors, head swim instructors, our exercise instructors, our cashiers and front desk clerical assistants, as well as our program assistants. Osborn Aquatic Center is an important place for the community and for our young members of the community to have a workforce opportunity.
So the school district and the city of Corvallis have had a longstanding relationship in operating of the Osborn Aquatic Center. In 1977, actually in 1975, the school district and the Corvallis Parks and Recreation formed an exploratory committee and political action committee that resulted in asking voters to build an aquatic center in its current site at the corner of Highland and Circle. The city and school district's long-lasting partnership for decades as the city operated the outdoor Corvallis High School swimming pool. In the 90s, that outdoor swimming pool at Corvallis High School continued to have maintenance issues and had to be closed. As a result, in 1996, City Council developed a swimming facility task force to evaluate the swimming needs in the community. Ultimately, as the owner, the school district went out for a bond measure to build an outdoor aquatic space as well as improve and expand upon the existing building. So in 1998, the voters did approve that bond and construction was underway. Upon completion of the construction in 2000, the city and the school district went into agreement for operations of the pool. So since 2000, the city of Corvallis Parks and Recreation Department has operated the pool facility, and that is all maintenance and operations of the pool.
So since that bond in 1998, the $8 million bond, which enabled the facility to expand into the outdoor area and add those 2 additional pools, there's been a series of investment that's been made into the facility as it's aged over time. Over the last 25 or so years, this slide you can see illustrates some of the projects and repairs that have been invested in at the facility. They span from indoor facility pool boilers being replaced, updating a lot of the mechanical equipment to make it more energy efficient. We had 2 ultraviolet light sanitation systems that were added, heat exchangers were installed. Some other major improvements included a brand new pool liner in both the outdoor leisure and the lap pools in 2020. And that project was over $400,000 that was funded in partnership with the city and the school district. What these projects do not show is funds that are associated with our daily or routine maintenance activities, utility costs and things like that are more operational. This slide really shows some of the major investments that have taken place in the facility over time. And again, keep in mind that the original facility is over 40 years old, approaching 50 years old here in the near future. And then the expanded outdoor areas are over 25 years old now. So every year in the fall time, the facility does close for an annual maintenance period of time, usually 2 to 3 weeks. The Corvallis Parks and Recreation Department, in collaboration with the city's Public Works Department, who also manages and maintains a good portion of the facility, create a list of things that need to be addressed during that closure. Unfortunately, last September, about a year ago, during that routine maintenance closure, while we had a maintenance crew member up exchanging light bulbs, noticed not only rust in the structural beams in the ceiling, but really noticed some cause for concern that it may be more than just rust. And what they decided to do was close the facility out of an abundance of caution until we could further investigate that. So as the months went on in last fall, and many of you are familiar with the progression of events here, but we called in a series of experts and structural engineers that would help us address and investigate the situation. In order to do that, we had to have contractors install structural shoring to make sure that the facility was structurally safe for the investigation to take place. And in order to do that, we had to drain the main pool in the natatorium in order to support the shoring that would then make the structure safe to conduct that testing. So shoring supports were installed in the main pool in November. And from there, structural engineers were able to explore various locations in the ceiling to gather more information as to the extent of the rust and the corrosion. Those reports became available both to the city and made available to the public in January, February of 2025. And based on the results of that report, the city then engaged with a new firm called Construction Science Forensics to take that information and further develop a scope of work for what actual repairs would need to be taking place to make sure that we could enhance the structural integrity of the facility and reopen. So that's called a BERM, or Building Envelope Repair Manual, which we do have in our hands now, and that was delivered to the city in about May of 2025. And that information is carried forward in the facility condition assessment that Kim will speak to.
So I wanted to provide a brief explanation of the structural failure and what the investigation resulted in. So we know that a pool environment is humid, it's hot or warm, and it also it's corrosive. We use chemicals in the pool, and that impacts the air quality and the structure itself. So what has happened over time is that the heat from the pool natatorium space passes through the roof structure and escapes through the ceiling or through the roof. And here you can see the exoskeleton. It's the white steel structure on top of the roof is referred to as an exoskeleton. So as heat passes through the roof structure and crosses that exoskeleton, the heat mixes with the cold steel and creates condensation. So the condensation then runs down that tubing to the connection point with the building skeleton or the building structure. And so when it hits that location where it connects in, that's where we found the rust, as you can see in the bottom picture here. And so that base that you're seeing in the picture is actually between the ceiling and the roof structure. So it is not just outwardly visible either from the roof or from the inside the natatorium. And so this ongoing over time, over the last 40, almost 50 years, has led to this corrosion that happened at this location. And so I think it's important to understand where the corrosion has occurred and that it isn't something that's readily accessible on a day-to-day basis. So I want to point out that the city received their report back on the building envelope repair manual in May, but in April, the school district decided to work on a full facility condition assessment. As owner, our perspective was that we want to know, is it just the roof that needs to be repaired, or are there other things we need to consider to make sure that the building is operational at the end of those improvements? So we worked very closely with the Parks and Rec staff to hire Scott Edwards Architecture to provide the full facilities condition assessment. Our goal was to just have that better understanding of what needs to be done now and in the short term and in the long term. We had consultants specializing in aquatics, structural, building enclosure, mechanical, and civil, which is landscaping, as well as the architecture firm, Scott Edwards Architect. A lot of time was spent going through every part of the building with the on-site pool management and public works who have been working on the pool over time, and really diving into all the parts, even those that are behind walls or hard to identify. With all that information, we came up with some priorities of repairs that need to happen. So a priority one repair is immediate needs. We cannot open the pool without doing these repairs. And so it's 5.9 million just to do that work. The roof replacement and structural repairs. We have to remove the entire roof to make the structural repairs. We've evaluated all methods of doing that work, and it just doesn't make sense to cut holes all over the roof only to come back and patch it. We would not have a good long-term product. So those repairs need to happen. The 50-meter pool liner and bulkhead, the liner and bulkhead both are at the end of their life expectancy. But when we drained the pool and had to put up scaffolding, it means that it cannot wait. It has to be done in order to open the pool. The natatorium HVAC replacement. So these are air handling units that sit on top of the roof. The units themselves are actually past the end of their useful life. They will have to be removed to make the structural repairs, and we just cannot put them back up. We can no longer get parts to repair them. So we have to replace those 2 air handling units. The ductwork and lighting was actually taken down in order to support the scaffolding. So that all has to be put back in place, repaired and reinstalled. And then when we make those improvements and replace the liner, bulkhead, and we are looking at opening, there's some safety updates that we want to make that were planned safety updates, but now that we are replacing the liner, you wouldn't do it without making it happen right now. An example are drain covers, making sure they meet all of the safety code compliance. So again, priority one are things that need to be done before we can reopen the natatorium. Priority 2 are repairs that need to be done within the next 10 years. And when I say next 10 years, it could be immediate, it could be 10 years out, but what we looked at is we don't necessarily have to do these things to open the pool, but we need to be keeping that in mind that at any time these things could become critical. So we're going to start the beginning of the mechanical upgrades, including indoor pool filtration system, making ADA improvements, addressing aging Otter Beach play features, which are going to continue to need to be worked on or replaced over the next 10 years. And then updating electrical wiring throughout the building. Priority 3 repairs are those things that are 10 to 20 years out, and it's an additional $10.6 million. But those things that are on that list is the continued replacement of the mechanical equipment, which in that time frame, pretty much everything is going to need to be replaced, and then replacement of the outdoor features and the natatorium swim equipment.
So moving forward, the big question is how do we fund these priority needs and these repairs that we can foresee needing over the next 10 to 20 years? We're so thankful and grateful for the work that the school district did to partner with Senator Gelser-Bluen, as well as the support from not only our Corvallis aquatic team, but other aquatic stakeholders who really made a compelling case in the last few months in order to get this earmarked funding from the state legislature to the tune of $4.1 million to help us move forward and reopen the Osborn Aquatic Center. Additionally, both the school district and the city of Corvallis have identified a contribution of $500,000 each. And our Corvallis aquatic team has indicated that they're willing to make a sizable donation of at least $30,000 to also help move these projects forward. So total current resources that have been identified to addressing the immediate needs of the center is $5,130,000. But as you saw on the previous slide, Kim was going through the different priorities and the different needs of the facility, both in the immediate as well as over 10 to 20 years. That doesn't quite get us to where we need to be able to make these repairs and reopen. So this chart shows what that running total is. And this is one of our big questions that we want to engage with the community on is, how do we move forward? Do you want us to focus on just priority 1 items, or does it make better sense to also develop a plan moving forward, both in implementing maintenance activities and identifying funding sources for priority ones and twos, and even priority 1, 2s, and 3s to make sure that we can operate and provide service and program to the community for the next 10 to 20 years. So as you go through this, you can see the priority 1 cost for priority 1 items just to reopen the facility is about $5.9 million. Again, given that we have $5,130,000 identified, that leaves us with a funding gap of about $800,000 to solve for. If we wanted to make sure that we have enough funding in place or a plan in place to address the needs beyond those priority 1 items into the next 10 years, it's an additional $3.2 million for a total of just over $9 million to ensure that we can continue operating this facility for the next 10 years. And then that next step further into the priority 3 items, the 10 to 20 year time frame, is an additional estimated $10.6 million, leaving us just shy of $20 million in identified and anticipated need over the next 20 years for the facility.
We've heard lots of questions about what construction impacts will be. What we know is that with completing priority 1 items only, it's estimated to take approximately 10 to 18 months. The construction time period will depend on funding availability, the final scope of work, and construction phasing. And so although we know that there is likely to be some downtime in the pool, we can't say what that will be until we have a contractor hired. Next steps. So as of now, the Corvallis School District is working on coordinating a design and bid package for priority 1 projects to be prepared for public bidding. I want to clarify that we're actually phasing out 1 and 2, but in a bid package where it's line item by line item so that we can figure out where we want to go with that. We are definitely committed to getting this project underway, but I want to emphasize that until we have full funding, we could not bid the project out and get its construction started.
And additionally, as the school district proceeds, taking those next steps on the actual repairs, and getting that prepared to go out to bid. The Corvallis Parks and Recreation Department continues to operate the facility, albeit limited to the outdoor pools, but we are committed to keeping the outdoor lap pool open and operating as long as possible. As Kim mentioned, depending on where we go with the construction and what that sequencing or phasing might look like, we don't know quite yet. To the extent we'll be able to keep the outdoor lap pool open during the construction period, but we will be working through that to maximize the use and availability to the public as best as possible. Additionally, our aquatic staff is working really closely with the swim community to best accommodate their needs as we enter the competitive swim season. So as you know, we are home to a variety of competition swim teams, including the 2 high schools and Corvallis Aquatics team. And with limited outdoor operations, only 6 lanes, you can imagine there's a lot of shuffling and piecemealing and putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And we're super grateful for the flexibility that all of the teams have shown, that our neighboring facilities have shown to be able to accommodate these groups as well. But we are working closely with them to be able to give them as much pool time as possible during this season. And then additionally, there's additional things to think about. And while we have historically operated the outdoor lap pool during winter, not to this extent. And so there are things to think about in terms of patron safety, swimmer safety, and staff safety as well as we enter into inclement weather periods where there might be ice, even snow. It's operating a little bit differently. We want to make sure that everybody is safe, that we're eliminating any sort of safety hazards. Maybe there's freezing on the deck, so how can we eliminate that? How do we keep our lifeguards warm, but also ready to jump in the pool should that be needed? And so we are working on operational plans and safety measures to make sure that we can do that all safely.
The school district and the city want your input. We've prepared this online survey for you to get your opinion, your feedback out there for us. At our listening community meeting, we will also have some boards available that will have some deeper dive information. And we will put pictures of those boards up on the website in addition to this recordings for your viewing opportunity. So please share your information on the online survey.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.